The Combat Sports Report has begun. I am Gabe Morency on the grid. Let's do this thing. We got an awesome show lined up for you once again this week. We got some cool videos of the week. We got some UFC best bets. We got a badass BKFC fighter on the program. We got all kinds of cool stuff to break down over the next hour. So let's ring the bell and let's do this thing. Without further ado, let's bring in our first guest of the evening, BKFC lightweight contender, a man who just improved to an impressive 5-1 record. Unanimous decision victory on Saturday in Denver over an old school OG in Elvin Brito. Ramiro Figueroa in the house. Ramiro, thanks a lot for taking the time to be with us, man. Congratulations, bro. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you always having me on, and blessed to be here.
Hey, listen, man, we have fighters on a weekly basis from BKFC, and every one of them, bro, always has cast on. They always have, like, their face is always messed up. They're always wearing sunglasses and stuff. I got to say, man, you always look good after your fights. Once again, looking pretty good. How you feeling?
Good. I feel good. That's always the motto, is to hit and not get hit and not take much damage. I think I've only had one fight where, I got pretty cut up, and ever since then, I don't want that to happen again. So I'm here, and I got to do what I got to do to come out victorious and clean.
Yeah, it seems to be one of the biggest aspects of your game right now. Do you see the frustration in your opponents when they're trying to hit you? Like, at what point in a fight do you realize, like, yeah, I can tell this guy's getting frustrated. They can't connect as much as he wants. Like, to put in context, Brito threw 171 punches, bro. He only landed 96 of them. That's a lot of swinging and missing. It's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love being able to see everything. Once I see everything, everything comes in slow motion to me, And I'm in there picking my shots. I'm not in there throwing crazy punches and bunches, trying to land and hope they land. Normally the things I throw are most likely going to land. Once I see everything comes out pretty clean.
As fight fans, man, like, we don't have that twitch that you guys have to see things. So you just talked about it slowing down. It seems like a blur. You got a dude, he's throwing bombs at you, but how quickly and how good are you at realizing, oh, this is what he's doing. This is the combo he keeps going to. Or, like, okay, I know a lot of fighters will telegraph what they do, and you seem to be really good at the counterattack, counter-punching, and reading what your opponent's going to do.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of that comes with studying the opponent before the fight. With Alvin, we knew he was going to throw a lot of the same punches. And like I said, once that first round is over with, and I kind of start to adapt bit by bit, round by round, I start to see everything. Normally, that's not really something you can fully prepare for, but at my level, I believe, just the experience plays a huge factor in this game. And like I said, once they make a mistake, I'm going to see it again every time it happens.
Now, you fought in Denver. I've always thought that sometimes it can backfire on a fighter. You've got friends, you've got family, you've got people who want tickets. And, when you go on the road, it's a little bit more of a business trip at times. We see in sports, pro sports, teams will often perform better on the road. Do you like fighting at home compared to going on the road? Talk to me about, like, the differences. Do you enjoy fighting at home and or do you like going on the road, going on a trip and getting away from things as well?
I definitely like to fight out of state, especially when I'm B-side. I feel a different urge, a different motivation when I go to other people's hometowns.
So I was right then. Hey, you get a little bit of that extra business trip buzz going, hey, when you go on the road?
Yeah, and I get to lock in a little different. I get to go out there a few days before and be like, you know what, this is really happening. I'm locked in. I'm in the hotel. But I also love fighting in my hometown, selling tickets, letting people know that, people who went to school with me. I used to be that kid bringing a clear bag with boxing stuff to school, ready to go to practice after, letting them know, like, look, it played off. I'm headlining a co-main event in my hometown on the biggest platform in the world. It's definitely a win-win situation for both.
How much do you feel you understand this sport and this format of fighting now that you got 6 fights under your belt? Because, you had numerous boxing. You've been boxing your whole life. It's a little, it's obviously different with the clinching, the bare knuckle stuff. How do you feel your growth is coming? Like, do you feel like, oh, yeah, man, I'm way better and I know way more than I did even like a year ago right now?
Yeah, it's way different. Every single fight, I adapt and I learn more. Every single time I'm done fighting, I'm always like, man, I wish I could have done this better or that better. Oh, I should have done this. It's gonna happen every single fight, but I feel like for only being in the bare knuckle industry and actually competing for about 2 years, I've accomplished so much, and I almost feel natural at it. I don't feel like there's much to learn. But definitely that might change throughout every single fight. Anytime I change a different opponent that I haven't faced, it's definitely a great feeling, and I feel like I'm on top of the world right now with it.
I know you want to finish every opponent and stuff, but it's about, getting into the wars. You're going to have to fight the OGs and sort of along the way knock off some dudes that have been there forever. But you talked about being critical of yourself. Do you want, how long, when do you watch the fight after? You watch it on like the Sunday to Monday? When do you just sit down and say, all right, I want to watch? Because a lot of times when you're in the fight, you don't really remember everything, right? So
Yeah.
when you watch it, how critical are you? Because it's tough to get a win, bro. A win is a win in a fight game, right? A win is a win. You move on, you survive in advance, so to speak. But how critical are you when you watch your fight tape after?
Yeah, I'm pretty hard on myself. And I would say it depends on the fight, Like this one, I felt like I could have pressed the gas a little bit more. I could have been a little more aggressive, knowing, I took his best hit and it did not affect me. But I'm always wanting to be safe in there. I'd rather go out there untouched and victorious as opposed to go in there and, go to war, come out all cut. If I could go in there and not get touched, that's exactly what I'm going to do because that's my game. That's where I'm best at. And I did get cut behind the ear, and that was because I fed into his game and I fought him in the clinch, and that's the only time I got cut. Other than that, I'm always gonna stick to my game plan.
Man, the Denver scene and the Colorado scene's always been pretty vibrant, right? There's always been a great fight scene out there. How much of an advantage do you see when you're fighting in Colorado when guys that aren't there, maybe not used to the altitude as much? Is it real? Do you look over and go, yeah, this guy's having a hard time breathing over here right now? The bigger dudes feel it worse, but how real is the altitude in MMA, in combat sports and in MMA?
I've never fully believed in it. I've always believed like if you train hard, the fights are gonna be easy. But Alvin Brito for him coming from Puerto Rico, he came in pretty, for his age. I think he did great. He came out here and went to try to go to war, try to wrestle with me, and I know that takes a lot of energy itself. So for me, I've never really felt it. I've always believed like if my opponent's putting in the work, he's not gonna get tired. Simple as that.
Now you're not big on calling dudes out. You're in a stacked division. You just line them up and you're gonna knock them down one by one. What should we expect next right now? When do you think you're going to fight again? Are there any potential opponents on the table? Has there been contact with the company already about what's next for you, man?
I was hoping this was a title eliminator. I mean, I fought a previous world champion contender. I just beat a former world champ, and I fought in two top fives. So I believe I deserve that title shot. If not, maybe another world champion. I know Tony Soto called me out, but I was calling him out when I first started when he was on a winning streak, and now he's on a losing streak. So I don't know if I really want to fight him because he's 0-3 these past few fights. I want to fight somebody with a winning record, but if I got to fight Tony Soto, then I'll go ahead and fight Tony Soto. I know that Rodney Hinton dude called me out, but even same thing with him. He's barely 2-0. I want to fight people with the name. But honestly, I don't care. Whoever they throw at me, they just got to send the contract, date, give me enough time to cut the weight, and I'm fighting. I don't care. I'm here to win. I'm here to be at the top. So, whatever it takes to be the champion, I'm going to do it.
Hey, congratulations on another great performance, my man. Always love catching up with you. Thanks for the time, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
There's a Ramiro Figueroa with us, coming off a great performance, now 5-1. Combat Sports Report continues. Bring it. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabe Morency. Tom Safino will step up and in. We'll get into some UFC best bets as we're back to the Apex in Las Vegas this week. But I almost feel like we have a weekly Armin Sarkisian update on a weekly basis on this program. I mean, this guy is online more than the actual internet itself is. Like, if you want to talk about like someone just living his life online 24/7, it seems to me he does everything except actually fight, right? Except actually fight. Now, I'm not into all this social media influencer crap and Nina drama and all this other stuff. Like, I wouldn't be able to pick him out of a lineup if you offer me like $20 million. But this dude lives in this world, and I guess he's got like super rich parents, right? It's not like he's earned a ton of money fighting or anything like that. The guy barely ever fights. Now, he does seem to be pretty awesome. I'll give him that at wrestling. Taporia basically said, stick with the RAF stuff because I'll smash your face in a real fight. I liked what Faber said last week about, you're not really rich, right? Your daddy is rich. But so it was quite the week last week, and it started off with Armin getting kicked off of a plane.
I gotta tell everybody.
Yeah, we do.
Weird. So I am sorry we cannot fly because I was sitting on the board seat. I gotta tell everybody.
Yeah, we
I gotta tell where I'm. Okay, I cannot be tomorrow there. Sorry, guys.
So now it's gonna be.
I hope they're not gonna kick me out from this plane. Okay, guys, I'll be in 5 hours in Philadelphia.
Bro, let me sleep.
All right, so he gets kicked off the plane only to take his own private plane after the fact. But I just like that forget about like MMA fighters or like how tough you are and stuff. Nobody brings it. Nobody's going to bring it like a flight attendant. Let's just call it out for it. Like, she wasn't having it. She's like, you got to get off the plane. I don't care. She's like, no. You got to get off the plane. I'm sure there's like people sitting on the plane thinking, oh my God, this guy's some sort of terrorist or something. But like I said, the dude can't go like a day without, some sort of incident happening. Although I got to say, it is good content. So, of course, he fought, wrestled, took on Uriah Faber. All right, so Uriah Faber's like 46, going on 47 years old right now. So it was a tough matchup for him to begin with, yet I don't think he expected, and let me just bring up, the last time in RAF with Armin, remember, it turned into an all-out brawl because he's punching people in the face, and it's getting over the top and stuff. Like, this RAF stuff is insane. So this is Armin and Uriah Faber. Like, you think like the UFC and BKFC is insane. Check out what they're doing at RFA Wrestling right now.
Give Faber a second life here. On his feet, looking arm drag, Sarukian looking, whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Shit, whoa.
And these guys are off the stage and onto the concrete.
You all right? Sorry. I would have tried to catch you. I gotta tell you, I didn't even see him coming. I was watching the monitor. They went right over my shoulder.
I'm so glad I'm sitting here and not where you were,
I
Jim.
was sleeping on that one.
I thought you were dead.
Kurt, I was sleeping. I told Uriah, hey, I'm sorry. I should have tried to catch
See
you.
this chair? There's a steel chair over here that is done. It is
Annihilated.
just all bent up.
They
Look
literally.
at that.
That's some like WWE stuff. Now I'm thinking like, man, what kind of psychopath are you? And that's like seriously, like, what are you, a psychopath? Yet Uriah Faber actually thanked him after. Uriah Faber said, and it's a true story. Uriah Faber said, I've actually had a bad back for the last couple of weeks, and I landed right on the cement, and my back feels a lot better right now, so I want to thank him. He wasn't mad. That's Uriah Faber. Like, he wasn't mad. He said, this guy, he goes, this guy likes going viral and he likes having internet moments and stuff. So he goes, I guess we had an internet moment there. But he goes, my back actually feels better. And I got to tell you, I've met pretty much everybody in this business over the years. Especially not the newer dudes. I never met Armin, etc. Because I'm not a social media influencer going to pay him $40K to show up and hang out with me, right? Man, these people are losers. But with that being stated, see, Uriah Faber literally is one of the funniest and coolest dudes. And we were live at Mandalay Bay, I don't know, it was like UFC 100, I think. And we basically had everybody on. We were doing the show at the sports book there all week, and we had everybody on. And Uriah Faber had 2 casts, literally. He had 2 casts, both of his arms. He had 2 casts on. And I'm like, what the hell? You got 2 casts on? He's like, yeah, man. He goes, a crazy story. He goes, on the way here, I was at the airport in Sacramento, and I was driving to the airport. And he goes, I tried to open a Gatorade bottle with my chin because I'm driving with the cast. So he goes, I got the cast on the steering wheel. He goes, I got a Gatorade bottle with my chin and my shoulder. And he goes, I'm trying to open a Gatorade bottle. And he goes, there's a fender bender. He bumped into someone in front of him. And he gets out. He's got 2 casts on. He's a smaller dude. And there's this big dude gets out of a pickup truck and goes, I'm going to F you up and stuff like that. And Uriah Faber's like, I'm sorry, bro. It's an accident. It's no big deal. And he goes, you're dead. I don't care. You got a cast. He's getting in his face. And all this traffic stops and stuff. And people are like, kill him, Faber. Get him, champ. And then Buddy goes, he goes, you're that UFC fighter that lives here, huh? He goes, yeah. He goes, F you. And he gets in his car and he pulls off. But I just wish I had video of Uriah Faber. I wish I had video of Uriah Faber in his car trying to open a Gatorade with his chin with 2 broken arms and 2 casts on his arms. So I'm not surprised he said thank you for getting slammed on the cement. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabriel Morency. I want to talk a little bit about the UFC Winnipeg card that just went down over the weekend. I don't like living in the past too much, but there were a couple of interesting storylines that came out and developed from the card. Let's start off with the main event and Mike Malott. So Mike Malott gets it done once again, and we talked about this last week. Can he take that next step now? Right? Because let's be real. Mike Malott, he's 7-1 now in the UFC, so it's been a nice run for Proper. It's been a nice run for him, but he's always fighting in Canada, right? He's always fighting in Canada. He's always sort of, the favorite and or is close to a pick'em. Now, I'm not saying he's fought in like cream puffs and tomato cans because, Gilbert Burns is the real deal, albeit a retired Gilbert Burns right now, as Gilbert Burns has decided to hang it up after losing again to Malott. He's going to become an MMA manager, he says now. But we all know when people said they're never fighting again, right? So we'll take that. But it is what it is. But can he take that next step and become a real contender? And start going on the road to other venues and real cards, pay-per-views, and beat top fighters. Right? He lost to Neil Magny. He beats Gilbert Burns. So he still has a lot of work to do, but it's been a nice run for him. And for those of you that are unaware of this, that if you're a hockey fan, if you're a diehard hockey fan, you already know this, but Mike Malott's brother is actually on the Los Angeles Kings. Jeff Malott, defenseman. 6'5", 208 pounds. 6'5", 208 pounds. As they're the ultimate Canadian, the ultimate Canadian family. All they're missing actually is a brother who plays lacrosse. Then it's like the Canadian hat trick. All right, we've got a UFC fighter in the family. We got a 6'5" defenseman, National Hockey League defenseman in the family. All that's missing really is like a psychotic, the crazier brother that like plays lacrosse, because the lacrosse players are nuts. Like the box lacrosse, the indoor lacrosse stuff is like absolutely insane. The outdoor stuff is a little bit different, but yeah, quite the family. But the big story of Malott after is, so he came in with the Canadian flag, and evidently, this is so stupid. You're allowed to enter the cage with a flag of your country. All right, so you can walk in, you're gonna have the flag, whatever. You're not allowed the flag in the cage after the fight. Yeah, well, whatever, right? You know what I mean? It's supposedly it's for that the sponsors get highlighted the most and not the flag that's taking up the camera and covering things up. And I don't know, it's ridiculously stupid. Let's call it out for what it is. Dana White said recently, I don't care about that stuff. That's stupid. And he said, that's stupid. I don't care if anybody has a flag after the fight. Well, we all saw Mike Malott started waving a Canadian flag and it got ripped out of his hand immediately. And I wasn't insulted by it at first because I was like, yeah, they have some dumb rule or whatever. But he wasn't in the cage after. He was on top, and he said like they had attitude about it. Like that someone like ripped it out. It wasn't like, oh, hey, dude, you can't do that. Like, you know what I mean? It was like, no, they ripped the flag out of his hand. Like he wasn't happy for real about it. And I don't know. It's just ridiculously stupid. And you have to ask yourself, do you really believe that they would rip an American flag out of a fighter's hand after? So that's to me, that's what's just sort of like, all right, so what's the deal? Like, so only one country's allowed to wave flags after they win a fight? Is that what we're doing now? I mean, I think it's a fair question. And it's also a fair question that's being asked by Karine Silva about what the hell did Jasmine take in between rounds? There's no disputing it. Like, there's photos. We've seen it. Like, listen, I was on Jasmine, but she definitely popped something, right? And people are saying it's one of those Zins nicotine pouches. And I got to be honest with you. I've been around the UFC forever. I didn't realize they weren't allowed even drinking coffee. They don't get tested for it, but they have their eye out for like energy drinks and coffee and stuff. You can't crunch a nicotine pouch in the middle of a fight. You're not allowed doing that, but whatever. If you bet on Jasmine, even if they overturned it now, it's too late. We've already been paid. It is what it is. The Combat Sports Report continues. Combat Sports Report continues. I am Gabe Morency, SportsGrid Television Network. All right, let's do this thing. Let's talk some UFC. As feels like it was just a couple of hours ago that was the UFC fight card in Winnipeg, and interesting night. And it was an okay night as far as our picks were concerned, but not a great night. Right, like the favorites won, and we were on the favorites, but when we rolled the dice with the underdogs, we fell short. And the Mandel Nallo fight was just absolutely insane, which it appeared as if, oh my God, this is like the best bet ever. And let's bring in Tom Safino right now. Tom, I always talk about this. You sort of get the feeling early. And when you bet on an MMA fight, you can kind of know, oh, God, I'm on the wrong side, like kind of early. Or you're like, oh, yeah, I'm on the right side. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. And Nallo comes out, bro, and is literally murdering him, right? Like, just an ambush, like over the top. Yep. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it's any second it's going to get stopped. Any second he's going to knock him out or it's going to get stopped. It's nearly done. And I had that initial, son of a bitch, I should have bet more on this. And then, boom, whoa. And then just like that, and then you just get that sinking, because I did go bigger on it, and then I just had that sinking. And I was like, you effing idiot. Like, I'm like, dude, you idiot. Like, come on, bro. If you're going to do that, you got to finish it off. Right? Like, and that was it. Like, he didn't finish him off, and then he gets caught after. Give credit to Herbert. Hell of a comeback by him. But that was the best fight, I thought, as far as like the like the oh my godness of it, but it was frustrating, wasn't it, for a betting perspective? And the Moises guy too, he was looking good early in the fight, Tom, and we ended up losing that one too. He looked great in the first round.
Yeah, felt good about that. That's 2 weeks in a row where we had guys basically we thought we had a finish right at bat on the nose. And, the Yuri fight, he's got it. He's got it dead to rights. The Nalo fight. And the thing about the Nalo fight, too, he got dropped, and then he went to the ground. He scrambled. He went for a leg. I was like, okay, let him get his bearings back. And then, boom, gets cracked again. And I was like, yep, that's a wrap. But, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens when you have guys that just go for it. And, like I said last week on the show, Jai Herbert doesn't really have that killer instinct. He tries to avoid the fight, and Nalo's going to bring it to him. And because Nalo brought it to him, he had no choice but to unload. And they have 4-ounce gloves, man, and these things happen.
I want to bring something up as far as Malott is concerned. Din Thomas, who I do like a lot. I think he brings a great perspective, and I think he's the best one actually there as far as real fight analyst is concerned. I like Dominic Cruz as well. But he said something after. He said, Malott dropped the ball. He said he's too respectful. You got to call people out, and he had an opportunity to call people out by name. And well, part of me, I get it. I understand what Thomas's take was there. But at the same point in time, it shouldn't be about that, right? It shouldn't, but it is. It shouldn't be about that, right? It should be about winning your fights. And I hate to say this, but it shouldn't matter whether you're entertaining or not even, right? If you take someone down, you hold them down, you win. If you can't be beat, you can't be beat. Like, a win is a win. But we live in this world where they don't really fully care about the win. It's more of an entertainment thing now. And then also, if you win and you win boring and you win and they don't like you, you sort of get buried. And it sort of leads me into the main eventer here this week, and Aljamain Sterling, who nobody's going to claim the guy's the most exciting fighter in the world, right? It's not like, I can't wait to see this guy's next fight. But he is a damn good fighter. I mean, the guy is a former world champion, right? Yep. He is a former world champion, and he's great at his craft, yet they don't like him. Let's just call it off what it is. He criticizes them publicly. He's one of the guys that will criticize the pay, and he criticizes the bookings, and he's very vocal and outspoken. Sterling is. They think he's boring, but it's kind of wild to me to have a former champion that's not washed or anything, Tom, and they put him on an Apex card against a guy he's friends with, right? So it's just sort of like, they don't like you, bro, and you know it. You don't like them. They don't like you. Yet it's kind of sad. If you win, you know what I mean? You should get fights, and it is what it is. But that's not the world we live in. But what's your take on this fight? Because Sterling comes in as the underdog.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, Zalal has looked really good since returning to the UFC. And honestly, he looked good in his first run in the UFC. So, I mean, the kid's got all the skills. He's extremely dynamic on the ground, which makes it interesting because obviously we know Sterling wants to grapple. So that submission game could come into play really for both guys. Sterling's very strong, not good size for the division. I know he's coming up. He came up from 35, but he was always a big 35 or a big, strong guy. And it's going to be if Zalal can scramble and Zalal can keep it on the feet, I think Zalal runs away with it. I just think he's a striker, and I think he might have the better as well. But I can see Aljo just banking rounds. I mean, we saw that in the second fight with Jan after the knee where Sterling won the belt. He took his back for two whole rounds. There was really not a lot of action, but he banked 2 rounds that way. And then there was another round, the first round in that fight, where neither one of them really did anything, and 2 of the judges gave it to Sterling. So, there's a world where Sterling controls a lot of this fight. And, as underdogs have been really coming through a lot this year. So I could see Aljo. It's tough to really pick that. But I think Aljo's live, and this is a good live betting fight.
Sterling 2-1 since moving up in weight. Zalal is interesting. Another one of these guys in which he's had a second wind, right? I mean, he made his debut in 2017, guys, but he's only 29 years old. So he started young, came into the UFC in 2020, won 3 straight, then lost at Topuria. No shame in that. But then lost a couple of more, had a no contest, ends up going to Sparta Combat, wins 3 straight there, gets a second shot in the UFC, and now has rattled off 5 in a row, right? So sometimes it takes a while for guys to find themselves, but in fight years, he's kind of entering his prime right now at 29 years old.
Yeah, and you go back to the fight he had with Topuria. Yeah, that was a good fight. I mean, Topuria, the fight, Zalal, had a good showing for himself. He never got hurt really bad in that fight. He was in it the whole time. So he's a guy he's really skilled. I mean, you can't deny the kid's skill, and he is kind of in his prime right now. He had to leave. He had to sharpen some skills, come back, and to see this kid win this fight and go on and be a title contender would not be shocking at all. I mean, he's got all the skills. It's a rough matchup though. Like I said, with Aljo having the ability to control guys, Aljo could bank those rounds, and that could be enough to win it.
Yeah, initially when I looked at this, I was like, wow, a little bit surprised about the number, but I kind of get the feeling that the odds makers have gotten this right and the betting market have gotten this right, and there's a reason why he is the favorite, because as you stated, Sterling, to win this fight, he's going to have to chew up some clock. He's going to have to spend a lot of time on the ground here, and that's going to be tough, like over 25 minutes. As long as Zalal can defend some takedowns here, he can just rack up the points along the way. We'll get into the rest of the card with Tom on the other side. Some interesting spots here as the Combat Sports Report continues on the SportsGrid Television Network. Bring it.
Alienate your fan base. That's the problem. You got to show your fan base that you're still trying to win, and you want to sell tickets in the summertime. You don't want to go into mid-May and say, all right, we're 15 games out, but it's still only early May. No, fans will stay away. So you don't have the luxury anymore of just waiting. So someone's got to get fired. Nope. One of these teams is going to fire someone by the end of the month.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Let me understand this, Joe. Are we going to have any broadcast games on TV anymore? It's all streaming?
You got to pay to watch here, folks. That's just the way it's going to be, one way or the other. And I'm sure this will satisfy, the FCC looking into the coercion that's going on here with the NBA NFL broadcast rights. Yeah, this is all par for the course, I think.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Call it what it is, Donnie. Did Houston just completely misfire here? Like, did they not do enough research, background, find out more about the guy for him to say this just a few weeks into the season? And then you start wondering, Donnie, is it really dead arm? Like, is there anything going on here? Like, oof, I don't know. Just an awful look for Houston at the start of the season, and they can't win a game to save their lives here.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
It's a 7-game sprint with a whole lot of volatility, right? You don't want the best team, so to speak, Donnie. You want the team that has a favorable group stage, weaker knockout path, and has some penalty variance coming their way here, because this is all about the path to the final, Donnie. It's not about the best team, because the best team can get knocked out.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.
Combat Sports Report continues. I'm Morency. We're kicking it with Tom Zaffino right now. Tom, let's just get right into the fights here. And one of the, here's an underdog, small dog, because the fight is basically a pick-em here. The Davy Grant and the Martinetti fight. So Grant's coming off the loss to Charles Jourdain, who, of course, did get it done. Air Jourdain gets it done over the weekend. Wasn't easy, but he did get it done. Jourdain subbed him. Martinetti comes in here, guys, on a 15-fight win streak. He lost the third fight of his career, and he hasn't lost since. So he hasn't lost since 2017. Sounds sexy, but if you dig down a little bit, bro, like he literally, his last, like one of his last wins against a guy who's 0-1, Tom. You know what I mean? There's another dude like, 9-8, 8-9. Like he fought a lot of sort of slugs, journeyman, couple of tougher journeymen along the way, but he didn't, like the level of competition was not very good, but he handled his step up in class as we saw in the Contender series with a big time win. He's 10 years younger than Grant. Grant's coming off the loss right now. What am I missing here? Because I like Martinetti in this fight.
I mean, Davy Grant's a problem, man. I know he lost to Jourdain. He got submitted, but he is a really good striker. He's tough as nails. Again, Jourdain cracked him and hurt him, but that's Jourdain. Jourdain's a beast. We saw it last week. That played out the way I thought it would. I thought he would drop the first round and then turn it on, and he did. And it was a really good fight. But I think, Davy Grant's just fought, a lot of the better competition here. He's fighting a guy making his debut. So that always kind of puts a damper on things for these guys. It seems like they tend to have a tough first go. And Davy Grant is living in Las Vegas. So he's living in Vegas. He's training in Vegas. So he's not traveling. He's a guy that usually has to travel overseas to fight. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think this is a really close fight. And I kind of lean Grant in this fight. He's getting up there in age. You never know when the wheels are going to fall off, but I've been waiting for the wheels to fall off on Grant. And outside of that Jourdain fight, he's looked really good. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Davy Grant finds a way to get it done here.
There's another older fighter on the card, too, that I kind of forgot about, but Max Griffin is back. Max Griffin is back. Small dog here, plus 125 right now against Valenzuela. Any opinion on that one? As seems like the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of these, the 40-year-old versus the 28-year-old, right? Like the older dude on the way out versus the up-and-comer or the journeyman, gatekeeper, etc. We've had a lot of these, but hell, they have a card every week, Tom. So they're calling people, hey, you're good to go? We need fighters. Any opinion on the Griffin Valenzuela fight?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Griffin fights are always tough for me because more times than not, he's in split decisions. And, more times than not, he's looks good. I mean, he's really good. He's getting up there in age. But at this point, again, he's fighting a debuting fighter who got knocked out on the Contender series, won a fight, and now here he is making his UFC debut. So it's a tough one to ask to take on Max Griffin. And older guy, he's in a lot of close fights, not an easy guy to cap. But as an underdog against a debuting fighter, I have to side with Griffin here.
Any opinion on Ryan Spann, another underdog on this card? So Spann goes up to heavyweight. Listen, he lost to Cortez Acosta. No shame in that, right? And it doesn't, you see how good he looks. He responded with a win after that. He's like plus 135. Any opinion on that fight?
Yeah, he's another one that's tapped because, he's extremely dangerous in the first round. Cardio doesn't always check out. But he's taking on Buchecha here, who's a guy who's extremely decorated in the jiu-jitsu world, but he has not looked good since joining the UFC. His cardio doesn't look great. He doesn't look great on the feet. And Spann in that first round could really put some damage on him and wear on that gas tank. And I don't think Buchecha's wrestling is good enough to really if he gets hurt and he gets tired early in that fight, I just don't think he's going to be able to force the fight to the ground. So I think the fight probably ugly if it goes, 2 to 3 rounds. But again, it's not comfortable, but I'll take Ryan Spann all day.
A fun fight on this card, guys. I think, like I said, there's so much going on in the sports world that, this is one of these Apex cards. The main event will be interesting, but Jackson and Barcelos, interesting as well. Tom Jackson, 6-fight win streak snapped, lost to Figueroa. Meanwhile, Barcelos on a 4-fight win streak. Any opinion on that? And we got less than 2 minutes right now, so any opinion on that fight, and what are you looking at right now? What are you looking to pull the trigger on a trickier betting card this week? What catches your eye?
Well, you mentioned Jackson, and I was actually going to talk about him in the best bets segment because I've got him with Pilastri in a parlay. I like Pilastri in the first fight. She's minus 230, minus 250 kind of. There seems to be money coming in on her. But she's fighting a grappler who's has only got 26% takedowns accuracy, and she's got about a 60% takedown defense. And part of that is because she fought Jasmine Jasdavicius and Lupe Godinez, who both were able to get her down. But to me, I think Pilastri is going to be able to keep this fight on the feet. And even if she does get taken down, she usually still lands a good amount of volume. So, and I like Jackson as well. So I don't like betting either one of them on the money line just outright, but I think putting them together, getting a plus 115 parlay, I think it's pretty good. Jackson, again, it's a sketchy fight. It's a tough fight coming off a loss, but the guy's got all the power. He's huge. He's got all the skills, and I think he's in a good out here.
For the record, we talked about Jasmine and the suspected Zyn nicotine pouch controversy. She says that it was gum. She says that she chews gum, and you're not supposed to chew gum, but she forgot that she had it in her mouth. Tom Savino. All right, we're in the final round right now. It's time for our videos of the week. We got some good ones this week. Let's start off with some kickboxing, and this is some great footwork here done. Just repeated kicks to the face, but just like Mortal Kombat video game style. And I think the, like I said, just like pinpoint accuracy, badass stuff. This is Mona Kimura.
やる前にと思っているというこれコブラがコブラがねすごい獲物狙う仮にチェンジが回転してくるんですよねボディだったらまだねちょっとやりやすいこの左のストレート前蹴り編み出した技でもありますこれもモナ蹴りそして前蹴りそして上がった時の後ろ足は狙い目なんです右左ストレート本当ヘビーワンツーストレートボディ本当ねこの左ストレート指示しましたフルマークでの木村モナさあこの K1 初
That's pretty badass, and she's kind of hot too. But you imagine, like, I told you to take the garbage out, and she just kicks you in the face. Like, hey, whoa, hey, and man, that's some badass. That's some badass kicks, right there. All right, this video is from like last week. We didn't get to it last week. It was making its rounds online, and people saw it and just sort of assumed that it was wrestling. Right? That, oh my God, what the hell is this? That it was wrestling, and it actually wasn't wrestling. It was actually a dance competition. And I don't know what kind of freaking dance competition they got going on over here, but it's a pretty wild one. I'll tell you that, because this is some pretty crazy ass stuff. For the arena. She starts twerking up here. It's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. What the? What the hell's going on over there? That's what they call dance championships now? Looks like to me that's like the suicide championships. All right, let's see who can dangle off this. What the hell is that? Dance championships? Like, wow. Some wild. I got to tell you what, though, dance championships or not, if I'm the WWE or AEW, whatever the hell it's called, A&W, AEW, whatever the hell it's called, I'm calling this girl right now. And I'm like, well, listen, this girl clearly does not have any fear factor in her at all. That's some dangerous ass stuff, though. She's twerking from the roof of the arena, and it just drops. That's a lot of trust for the people to catch you down there, girl. I got to tell you. All right, and speaking of girls, it's a girl power video of the week this week. We showed you a little killer. Remember we showed you like a little 5-6-year-old girl that was like making like little boys cry because she was just murdering them? This girl is like this girl's a danger as well. This girl is an absolute danger. Let's roll the tape here of some karate action. Oh! Yeah, you better clap. She's gonna kick you in the head. That was so good. Can we see this one again? You know, that was so quick. It was just like, boom. I don't know how the hell, like, they pull this off. Like, Charles Jourdain was trying to do that the other night. Jourdain was trying to do it the other night in Winnipeg, if you recall. At the end of every round, he would do this sort of like cartwheel thing, and he'd jump like he tries some stupid like Mortal Kombat Bruce Lee type of thing that never works. You know what I mean? It's like, and it was the same thing every time. He'd literally just land on his ass and fall, and it'd be like, yeah, dude, it kind of looked flashy for a second, but like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, it's amazing to me. Like, that girl just spun like boom. Like, unbelievable. Like, man, the power of these legs kicks that are generated. Scary ass stuff. All right, fun videos of the week this week. I almost want him to set an over-under. Can we get through a week? Will we have an Armin video next week? Will we get kicked off a plane? Will he throw someone off a stage? Will he scale a building, which he actually did last week, which we didn't actually get into? But thanks to all of our guests for joining us on the program tonight, and thanks to you for watching the program. Other than that, you're on your own. Later. They do nothing fancy, the Philadelphia Flyers. There's nothing like, oh my God, like they basically, Kevin, can like hand you their playbook before the game. Like seriously, they can say, yeah, this is what we're going to do. These are our lines, and this is how we're going to match up against you. Like, you know it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and you know it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
The New York Knickerbockers are NBA champions. Da 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 da. Canyon of Heroes, parade, convertibles, hot chicks in Knick jerseys. The Knicks finally get over the hump and win an NBA title. And there's me, and there's Jalen Brunson.
The Craig Carden Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Get it, man. Maybe this is more of a Kalshi poly market conversation to jump in on the prediction markets, but to me, this is the spot that I would roll with the Rays, man. I think they're undervalued every year, and I think they're undervalued this year again. Look, the Yankees should be the favorite. They're the best team on paper. Baltimore, Toronto, and Boston? Donnie, are they that much better than Tampa Bay? What am I missing here?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Do you think technology and those earpieces, again, when it comes to the development of the quarterbacks, is hurt the game?
The development of the quarterback position is getting worse and worse and worse because you don't see live action, you don't get game time experience, and you're going to have to develop in a slower way. And to me, if you don't have the people around you, it's going to be a tough road to be able to play the game.
Outspoken with Dan Silly.